Welcome back, guys. Okay, so let's start setting up our near environment. Myself, I'm working on the Ubuntu Linux operating system. So if you're working on Windows, you will need to install WSL. This is the link right here. I will add it in the description as well. Follow through the instructions and get yourself a Linux distribution installed on your system. After you have this set up, what you will need next is you'll need to have a Python, and we will also need to set up a Node environment. Okay, so I'm going to bring up my terminal here. I'm right now in my home directory, and this is now Linux, so this is already considered that you have already installed it. So I need to check if I have a Python version. And I do have a Python version 3.9.7. Okay. Next, what I need is I need to have a way of installing an environment, a Node environment, separate from the operating system environment here. The reason why I'm setting up a separate environment is so that in case if something fails in the future, I can just erase the environment, reinstall it without having to deal with the packages within my operating system itself. That is something that I saved in this little text document here. So first, you will need to use the pip package manager. Pip package manager is the package manager for Python. So you'll need to do sudo pip install node-env. Node-env is a Python package for setting up node environments. After that, we can run node-env and the name of the environment that you'd like to set up. And you will have the environment set up with the latest version. So in my case, for example, if I copy this and paste it into my terminal and run it, actually not here, let's go into the I went into a different directory, so right now if I run this, it's actually going to install my environment directory inside the directory that I'm currently in. So if I run, press enter, it says installing pre-built node. So it's going to install this node as a separate environment within a minute or so, and then you will be able to enter this environment and do what you need to do there, including installing all the packages that you need inside it, things like that. Okay, done. So now if I list it, we can see the env folder in here. It is right here. So if we want to enter this environment, there's this command. It's just you need to enter dot and then the environment of folder bin and then activate, and I'm inside this folder now. So if I list here, like it's nothing special here. To exit the environment, I do deactivate node, and I'm out. So over here, if I do node -- version, it says that I do not have a node installed on my system. But if I enter the environment right now and do node -- version, I have it installed. We also have npm in here as well, the package manager for node packages. Yarn we do not have. However, if we want to install it inside this environment, we could do so using npm -g i-g and then yarn. And then we have yarn -- version, and we have a yarn installed inside this environment as well now. Okay, let me deactivate this environment because I have already set it up before, and I don't really need this extra one. I set up my environment in the home folder, and we're going to use that one. So I'm going to do deactivate node to exit this environment, and I'm going to rm rf the env folder here because I don't need it. Another thing that we're going to need to run this environment is Docker. Docker is a very popular containerization technology where you can run kind of like separate environments for different programs that you need to run. However, you could read more about it at Docker website. So let me just go docker.com. Over here, I would say that for Linux, you will need to install it in a different way. Like for Windows and Mac, there's this thing called Docker Desktop. Really don't need it here. All we need is really just the Docker command line. That's basically all we need. So you can look up how to do the Docker installation. Actually, let me just do a quick search. Ubuntu install Docker. So actually DigitalOcean has some interesting tutorials which you could just follow through. So over here it will explain to you what to run, how to run. We need Docker installed on our main system, not within the environment, but within the actual root environment of the operating system. Okay, that's where we need it. So I already have Docker installed, as we can see by Docker PS. There's a couple of containers running right now. Pay no mind to this Kurtosis engine server here that I've been doing some experimentation here. Pay no mind for this NX Handyman helper either. This is another project that I've been working on, just kind of sits there right now. We're going to go through all this. When you run your Docker for the first time, this is just going to be empty. All you'll see is just container ID, image, command, created status, ports. That's it. Okay. The next step after we have installed these things is to actually read some documentation here. So what we're going to do now is create this local development environment. So over here, the prerequisites are Docker, Yarn, Near CLI, Kurtosis CLI. So Docker, we talked about. Yarn, we're going to do Yarn and Near CLI. We're going to have both of these things inside our environment for development, which I just showed you how to set up the nenv environment with which we just went over. Okay, Kurtosis CLI, this is a separate package for starting a development environment. Okay, so over here, docs.kurtosistech.com, we can see the documentation on how to get started and how to install this thing. So we need to go to the installation. And over here, there are the instructions. One is for the homebrew. This is if you're using Mac, I believe. And over here, we have the apt. This is the Linux distribution. And Yum, this is a different Linux distribution. So these ones, I believe, are Debian. And these ones are for distributions like Fedora and things like that. That's what I'm thinking. But we need the Debian one because we're using Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is Debian based. These are the instructions we need. And this is how we install the Kurtosis CLI with the apt package manager. So this is what we use for Ubuntu. Okay, once that is done, once you run this and your Kurtosis is installed, now we can check running this thing, Kurtosis version. Actually, let me just do help. Okay, Kurtosis help, and we see that this Kurtosis is actually installed. The version, I wonder why it didn't tell me anything here. Version. Oh, there we go. It's without the dash dash. Okay, so we have the Kurtosis installed now. And from here, this is what we're going to use to spool up our local blockchain instance. Because we're not going to use any of the real instances like the .near or I think it's testnet, at least not yet. We need to get an idea of how the whole thing works on our local system so that we can break it as many times as we want, restart the thing, and just keep using it. Okay, that's what we're doing here. So now we have a Kurtosis installed. We can continue back to our creating local development environment documentation and go through the setup. So over here we have this curl download. So this right here is a shell script for Linux that will permit us to start up the Kurtosis environment, all the Docker containers that it needs, things like that. So what I'm going to do now is just copy this thing, and I'm going to just paste it here. And now if I list it, we see where is this thing? Oh, I think it actually copied it into my home directory because of this thing right here. I kind of don't really want it in my home directory. So I'm going to actually open one more line, cd ls. Yeah, it copied it right here into my home directory. I don't actually want it here right now because I just wanted to have it in our tutorial folder right here. So I actually already have it here, just renamed it into this near launch cluster.sh. So I don't really need it, but I'm showing you how to download it into your, this will download it into your home directory. Okay, I'm actually going to delete it from my home directory for now, so I'm going to just rm launch sh because it's the same one. I just renamed it into the near launch cluster sh because I like to call everything with the near in front instead of what it is called by default. Okay, so now that we have all the launch scripts set and our environment set, what we're going to do in the next tutorial is actually start this whole thing up and install the CLI and run a few basic commands, right? So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.